Oh, sorry, I completely didn't see you there. I'm Tay, and I know that was super rude texting while supposedly trying to, record my speech for all of you. And it's funny enough, a lot of people think that text messaging in general is ruining, our English language and our social context and so many things. And it was great to actually talk about this because I read an article called I Hate Text Messages and How It's Ruining the English Language by John Humphrys. And it's a really interesting, really great article in the Daily Mail. But there's a lot of points I have to disagree with Mr. Humphrys on. Yes, texting does have its limitations, and it does have those things that are annoying, like I so did. We've all had that, where somebody's texting you and talking at the same time, and you feel like you're not important. But Mr. Humphrys focused on more how texting itself is changing and manipulating the English language. And in one way, he totally and utterly has a point. That, how we text and how we talk, it really does affect how we communicate with one another. And it has changed English language, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Text messaging, yes, has totally had an influence on all aspects. And Mr. Humphreys points this out in his article, that so much so, his beloved Oxford Dictionary, as he calls it, has changed and removed hyphens from over 1,600 words. And it's great that he's informing us and kind of educating us and being playful about this. But at the same time, it does kind of make you wonder, does it matter? And as he said, the Oxford Dictionary had said the main reason they did this because they feel the average user is too lazy or it's not worthy to take up the time to put a hyphen. And it's great because throughout the article, he plays on this by, saying keystroke, oh my bad, and takes it out. Or he does these little things. So you can tell it's very light and funny and kind of being that satirical aspect of it. But at the same time, he does make a valid point. But my thing is, I think he's coming at this whole idea of texting morphing the English language from somebody, as he said, like that antiquated viewpoint. Like, he didn't grow up with texting. It wasn't what led him into adulthood. He got it later in life. And I think as somebody who grew up with it and saw it in its many various forms, that I get it. And I see both sides. But I really think he has to consider the point that the evolution of doing 8 that, has that sound, you put an H in front of it, it's hate, or whatever, comes from necessity. And I think everyone can benefit from that. And all language and all communication comes from the necessity to communicate. And by having these little cell phones that, you had to literally tap 4 times to get the letter you want, you were doing this the whole time and trying to text, it made the necessity to shorten things, especially back in the day when you got charged per page. And everybody knows that feeling of, oh man, I went over my character limit, that's like 5 extra text messages, my mom is gonna kill me. So that mindset, it became a necessity to really change how you talk. So those things that made sense, 8, it makes a sound and a noise, we get that. Like, as he says, the small little things of just abbreviation. And it got more complicated because as we got the quirky phones and the keyboard, it's great because it does make it longer, but at the same time, you're still trying to fit in this space. And it's the same thing even now with Twitter. You have 140 characters to say something really poetic in this short amount of space. So how do you do that? You have to cut corners and change things. And that's any language. It's the evolution of language, is to change based on need. And I think it's really great. And I don't think it's a shortening or it's a derogatory aspect at all, because you think about it, like, our generations have really combined this aspect of Shakespearean English language and just plain necessity to get your message across, and mushed it together to this awesome aspect that is understood worldwide almost instantly. And if it's not, you can easily ask, because you have thousands of users to connect to, what does that mean, or what's this about? And I think it's great. It's awesome. And it's funny because even Mr. Humphreys in his article, he does it. He talks about how, he calls it the OED. And for a moment, when you read it fast, you're like, what is that, the OED? But he makes that point that if you don't know the abbreviation, it does make this disconnect. It does make it hard and you don't understand it. And the OED is obviously the Oxford English Dictionary. And you get it, you're like, oh man. So, you really experience that. But I think, overall, abbreviations in texting, it's so clear cut and it's so simple that most of it just, it's a seamless transition. Like, you know what somebody means. So I think it works well. And I especially like the fact that, you know, you do have this opportunity to express more in less space and have that opportunity to spread to a wider audience because of this. So I think, if anything, texting is not ruining our language, it's not cheapening it. I think it enriches it, because we're taking these old, archaic, and ancient ideas of using hieroglyphic and pictures with emoticons and emojis and making our language bolder and brighter by including these different things. So I think it's a benefit that we are really tapping into all that we can. This is the generation that is taking classic, ancient ideas and making it its own. Like, that's awesome. That's not cheapening, that's strengthening, and that's bringing generations and multiple people together. And he does make a valid point at the end, and I love his little poem of Mary Had a Little Lamb, and he writes it, and it's really great. She texted day and night, but when it came to her exam, she forgotten how to write. And it's true. He does make a valid point. Reading and writing does suffer because we're not used to spelling things out correctly. But overall, I have to say, text messaging is a benefit and enhancement to the English language. Yes, it does have its flaws. Yes, people are getting wrapped up and forgetting that these are real words with real expressions and that there's a time and a place for them. But at the same time, the connectivity and the brilliance of working together and widespread to get a message across in a short amount of time is excellent. And I think, if nothing else, it makes our English language even better. So I love text messaging. How about you?